Go find a mirror, any mirror. Stand close. Now look at your left eye. Really look at it. Now look at your right eye. Do it again. Left, right, left, right. You just moved your eyes. You know you moved them. You felt them move. But you didn't see them move. Not once. Not blurred, not fast, not a streak, nothing. Your eyes simply arrived at the other side. Try harder. Go faster. It doesn't matter. You have never in your entire life watched your own eyes move. Here's the part that should bother you. It's not the mirror. It's not some optical trick with glass and light. It's that for a fraction of a second, while your eyes were traveling from one side to the other, you were blind. Your brain switched off your vision, threw away everything your eyes recorded during the trip, and then handed you a seamless picture that felt completely continuous. And it does this 2 to 3 times every single second, all day, every day. Added up across your waking hours, and the estimates land somewhere between 40 minutes and 2 hours a day, where you are, functionally, not seeing anything at all. You have never noticed the gap, not once, in your whole life. Which raises a much worse question. If your brain can delete 40 minutes of your day and hide the evidence that, well, what else is it editing before it shows you the world? The first people to catch this weren't studying blindness. They stumbled into it. In 1898, 2 researchers named Benno Erdmann and Raymond Dodge were in a lab in Germany trying to understand how people read. Their question was mundane. When your eyes travel across a line of text, what path do they take? To find out, Dodge watched people's eyes closely, and he noticed something he hadn't gone looking for. The eyes didn't glide, they jumped. Reading isn't a smooth pan across the page like a camera. Your eyes snap, freeze, little ballistic leaps with brief landings in between. These jumps got a name, saccades, from an old French word for the flick of a horse's reins. And then Dodge noticed the thing that mattered. Nobody, not his subjects, not himself, could ever see the jump happening. The eye moved. The person felt it move. But the movement itself was never visually experienced. It was simply missing from the record. So he did the obvious test, the one you just did. He put people in front of a mirror and asked them to look from one of their own eyes to the other. Nobody could see it. Nobody has ever been able to see it. That's not a limitation of mirrors. Point a camera at your face and film yourself doing it. Play it back. There's your eye, clearly moving. The camera catches it without any trouble at all. The camera can see your eyes move. You can't. Because the camera doesn't have a brain deciding what you're allowed to see. Here's why your brain does it. Your eyes are fast, not kind of quick fast. A saccade can hit angular speeds of several hundred degrees per second. That's one of the quickest movements your body is capable of producing. Now think about what that means for the image landing on your retina. You've seen what happens when you whip a phone camera sideways mid-recording. The world smears. It becomes a useless streak of nothing. Every single time you shift your gaze, across a room, down a page, from one word to the next, that same violent smear is painted across your retina. And it happens 2 to 3 times a second. That figure comes from work by Frederick Crevecoeur and Conrad Kerding, published in the journal eLife in 2017. So your brain has a choice. It can either hand you a life that looks like footage from a camera being shaken by an angry man, or it can throw the smear away. It throws it away. The mechanism is called saccadic suppression, and it's brutally simple. Right before your eye starts moving, your visual system turns the sensitivity down. Hard. And here's the detail that gives the game away. If this were just a passive problem, if you simply couldn't resolve a blurred image, the blackout would last exactly as long as the movement. It doesn't. Crevecoeur and Kerding point out that the suppression typically runs longer than 100 milliseconds, for a movement that only takes about 50. Read that again. The blackout starts before the movement does. That's not a reaction. You cannot react to something before it happens. That's a prediction. Your brain knows the saccade is coming, because your brain is the one that ordered it. It fires the command down to the muscles behind your eyeball, and at the same instant, it sends a copy of that command sideways to your visual system. A memo. Shutters down. We're moving. Neuroscientists have a name for that internal memo. An efference copy. A carbon copy of an order you never consciously gave, sent to a department you didn't know existed, about a decision that was already made. So this isn't your eyes failing. Your eyes are working perfectly. They faithfully record the smear, every time, and pass it up the line. It's your brain intercepting it, confiscating it, making an executive decision, in advance, about what you will and will not be permitted to experience, and then never mentioning it. But that creates a new problem, a worse one. Because if you throw away the footage, you're left with a hole, a gap in the tape. Hundreds of thousands of tiny gaps, every single day. 40 minutes of missing film. And you don't experience gaps. You have never in your life felt your vision stutter, or skip, or go dark and come back. Your experience is seamless. Perfectly, suspiciously seamless. So something is filling the holes. What? This is where it stops being a story about vision and starts being a story about time. You've done this. You've glanced at a clock with a ticking second hand, and for a beat, the hand seemed frozen, stuck, like the clock had died at the exact moment you looked at it. Then it lurched back into motion and everything was normal. That's not you being tired. That's your brain covering its tracks. In 2001, a team led by Keelan Yarrow at University College London, working with Patrick Haggard and John Rothwell, published a paper in Nature on exactly this. They called it chronostasis. The stopped clock illusion. They didn't use a clock. A clock is too messy. They built something colder. A subject stares at a cross on one side of a screen. On the far side sits a counter, showing a 0. On cue, they flick their eyes across to it, a saccade. And the instant their eye movement is detected, the machine silently switches the digit to a 1. Then it just sits there, for somewhere between 400 and 1600 milliseconds. And the subject's only job is to say how long that first digit felt like it was on screen. It felt longer. Every time. By roughly 100 to 200 milliseconds that never existed. And here's the detail that turns this from a curiosity into something disturbing. The size of the illusion scaled with the size of the eye movement. Almost perfectly linearly. Bigger jump, bigger lie. The bigger the hole your brain had to cover, the more time it invented to cover it with. It's not a glitch, it's a patch, and it's sized to fit the damage. Now sit with what that actually means. Your brain doesn't just delete the blank stretch, it reaches for the image you landed on, the first thing you see after the jump, and it backdates it. It stamps that image with a timestamp from before your eye ever started moving, and it stretches it backwards to paper over the hole. The clock didn't stop. Your brain lied to you about when you started seeing it. That first second you spent looking at the clock, part of it never happened. Your brain rebuilt it out of an image from the future and told you it was the past. And you believed it, instantly, without a flicker of doubt. Because there was no seam to notice, the forgery is perfect. Which brings us to the worst part. If your brain is willing to fabricate time to keep your experience feeling smooth, how far does it go? In 1998, two psychologists, Daniel Simons and Daniel Levin, ran an experiment that has been making people uncomfortable ever since. A researcher approached a stranger on a college campus and asked for directions. Ordinary conversation, face to face. Then two men carrying a door walked between them. Behind the door, the researcher swapped out. A completely different person, different height, different clothes, different voice, stepped into his place and picked the conversation up mid-sentence. Roughly half the people never noticed. They kept giving directions. To a stranger, who had been replaced, in front of them. And then Simons and Levin did the cruelest part of the experiment. They took the whole thing, the street, the directions, the door, the swap, and they described it, in plain words, to a room full of psychology students. And they asked one question: would you catch it? Every hand went up. They ran versions of this repeatedly, and the pattern held. The overwhelming majority of people insist, with real confidence, that they would obviously notice. In one follow-up, roughly 83% were sure of it. They're wrong. Half of them would have kept talking to the stranger. So it isn't just that you're blind to the edit. You're blind to being blind. Your brain doesn't only forge the picture, it forges your confidence in the picture. It hands you the fake, and it hands you the certainty in the same motion. Which means there is no test you can run from the inside. There's no moment where you catch it in the act. The only reason you know any of this is that a handful of people spent a century building machines to watch your eyes from the outside. Because from in here, the seam is invisible. It always was. Here's what all of this adds up to. You've spent your whole life assuming you're watching the world. That your eyes are windows and reality just comes in. They're not. They never were. Your eyes are two twitching sensors that spasm 3 times a second, go dark during every jump, hand your brain a pile of disconnected still frames with holes torn between them, and your brain quietly assembles that wreckage into something smooth. It deletes the mess. It fabricates the gaps. It backdates the timestamps. It decides what's important enough to keep and throws the rest away without asking you. And then it presents you the finished product, with total confidence, and you accept it. Every second of every day, and you have never once suspected a thing. The world you're looking at right now is not the world. It's a reconstruction. A best guess, stitched together in the dark, by something that has never let you see the seams. You have never experienced reality directly, not for a single second of your life. You've only ever seen the edit. Go back to the mirror. Look at your left eye, then your right. That little blank space where the movement should be. That flicker of nothing you can't quite catch. That's the only glimpse you'll ever get of the machine that's been building your world this whole time.